Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Cow. Today you have me, Jo, Teacup Jojo, and we are working our circles with rings today. You know, we've been doing a unit on circles. We've been making all kinds of decorative circles and making things with circles, and today we are using the circles as rings or with rings. So not exactly circles, but using the ring to make circles. So you can use any type of ring you like. Okay, so you can use any type of ring you like. You could use a big sort of 1 meter hula hoop, the plastic kind you use for dancing and exercising. You could use one of those and make a really big project. Or you could use something as small as a key ring, a split ring that you would use for a key ring. So you can use one of those. So we've talked about plastic, metal. This is plastic. This is a ring off of a drinks bottle. So they vary in size depending on what drink or what size bottle. But you could use these rings, plastic rings from bottles. And the other thing, you can use these, which this is a curtain ring. And it has this sort of ring on the end for attaching your curtains. But just unscrew that. They unscrew very simply. And here's one without the screw. So nice. This is a wood effect, but you can get them in wood as well. So this is a wood effect ring. You can get those in all kinds of colours as well. And the other thing with this one, if you leave this, I think it's called an eye. If you leave this in, you could use this as a picture frame or something in our pattern file in the group. There's a link below to the Facebook group Beyond the Cow. And in the actual file for the pattern, to pattern suggestions, there's an idea for using a ring as a photo frame. So we crochet around the ring and make it nice and pretty, and then we pop a photo behind. And it talks about making a chain loop to hang, but actually this eye on its own, you could attach something to the top of that, and that would give it a nice nice thing to hang it on. Or you could just hang it as it is, and you just crochet around, just making sure you leave this free and open. So that would be an instant sort of hanger there, so useful. And then the other thing I've got is these, which are reels of tape. So I've got a tiny one here, and these come in cardboard or plastics. This is just a tiny one, and then I've got this one here. So once the tape's used up and you've got these cardboard centres, you could easily use those as rings as well. So most of the pattern ideas in the file, you could use any size ring you like. Absolutely anything you like. So I'm going to show you first of all how to crochet around a ring if you've never done it before. It can seem a little tricky. Essentially you're going to use your ring as if you'd made a magic ring, or you made some chains and then slip stitch to join and use that as a ring. You would use this in the same way that you crochet around your ring as you normally would, but it can be a little more tricky when you've got something sort of solid to work around and not that crocheted ring. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to crochet around the ring, and then I'm going to show you how to turn that into a cute little project. So grab your hook and yarn and let's get started. Okay, I'm going to use a little ring from a bottle top. This is about 3 centimetres across, so about 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches. So I'm going to use this to show you how to work around a ring, and I'm going to show you how to do a single crochet around the ring, and then I'll show you how you can turn that single crochet around the ring into a cute little project. Okay, so I'm going to use green, because this is the colour for my project. So first of all, you want to start with a slip knot on your hook. Okay, you don't need a huge long tail. We're going to work over the tail as much as possible. Okay, so firstly you want to do your slip knot on your hook, and then take the tail and hold it against your ring. okay, like so. And let me just get this yarn around my fingers. So hold the tail against the ring. It can be a bit fiddly when you first start, but just persevere, okay? So hold that against the ring, and then you're going to take your hook and go into the ring, and then yarn over and pull through, and then yarn over and pull through those 2 loops. Okay, you've made your first single crochet. Okay, so you probably know how to make a single crochet anyway, but just showing you how you do it around the ring, just because it does feel a little sort of different for a start. Okay, so that's your first one, which is probably the trickiest to get sort of everything connected. So now you want to make sure you work over your tail, so it'll make it much easier, keep it secure as well. So into the ring, oops, out of shot, into the ring, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through those 2 loops, okay? And then you're going to keep doing that all the way around. Just making sure that your yarn doesn't sort of end up in 2 totally separate places. The further away this is over here, so this, if this is really wide, you're going to have a big stitch on top. So let me show you. Okay, you've got a big loose stitch there, okay, which you probably don't want. So you want to try and just keep it close together if you can. Try not to let your sort of yarn travel around the ring too far away from you. Try and keep it nice and close, okay? If it does travel around, it will make it a much bigger stitch. But equally, you don't want it to overlap like mine has just done. If the camera wants to focus, this is just overlapped there, okay? So just take your time. Unless you're making something with a deadline, there's no rush. Just take your time. Go around 1 stitch at a time, okay? I'm just going to do a few more of these. See, I'm bringing that closer because it's spread out a little. Okay. And because these are more rigid than obviously if you've got a crochet circle with chains or the magic ring, then you know that moves with you, whereas this is more solid and doesn't move with you, which is why you need to make sure that your stitches are staying as they should. Okay, so then you can see there's a few tiny gaps here where you can see the ring. That might not matter to you, but in case it does, you can just bunch these together. Now these rings have little teeth. I don't know if you can see that under there. They have little kind of teeth. And so the crochet doesn't want to slide as much as it would on a crochet circle, but just every few stitches bunch them together, okay? And then continue. This little piece of tail here I will just chop off at the end. So let's just continue and do a few more. Oops. And the bigger or thicker your ring, the slower you'll need to go to make sure that it is the stitches are staying as they should and not sort of spreading and making big stitches and becoming all uneven and messy. So just take your time until you're more used to working around a ring. Then definitely just take your time. Okay, so just going to bunch those up together. And I'm nearly finished this ring. So depending on the size of your ring, it doesn't take too long. Just a little bit of patience. Okay. So then I'm going to actually make an invisible join on mine. No, I'm not, because I'm going to continue to the pattern that I told you about. So I'm going to leave that there. You would just slip stitch into your first single crochet to fasten off. Okay, so there we go, first single crochet, to slip stitch into there to fasten off, and that will give you a neat little ring. Cute, huh? Cute, cute. Okay, so the quick, easy little project I'm going to show you first of all is making a Christmas or holiday wreath. Okay, so that's why I'm using green. So we've done our single crochets around. It doesn't matter how big or how small your ring is. It doesn't matter how many crochet, how many stitches you have at all. Okay, not at all. So the thing you need to do next, nice and simple, is to chain 3. So I've slip stitched into that first single crochet. Okay, done that slip stitch, and now we're going to chain 3. Okay. And then we're going to slip stitch into the same stitch we started from. Okay, so we're making kind of picots, chain 3 picots around the edge. Okay, so then you're going to go into the next single crochet along, slip stitch, chain 3, and slip stitch back into that same stitch. And that is all there is to it. This is why it doesn't matter about how many stitches you have. You're just going to, my yarn is splitting, so you're just going to go into the next stitch, slip stitch, chain 3, and then slip stitch back into the same stitch. Like so, and it's just making this sort of picot edge around there, sort of frilly edge. So if you find that too tricky doing a slip stitch into the same stitch, then you could just do a slip stitch in one, chain 3, and then do a slip stitch in the next stitch. Okay, you could do that and that's absolutely fine. But to make it more bunched up together, you do slip stitch, chain 3, and then slip stitch back into the very same stitch. Okay, and it just gives you this nice ruffled edge. So I'm going to continue this and then I'll see you at the end of this round. Okay, there we go, there's my ring full of those chain 3 and slip stitches, and all you need to do after your final slip stitch is to just fasten off. And that is that. So there is your ring with that nice frilly edge. Okay, so where I have joined and started and everything, I'm going to use this as the bottom part of my wreath because we're going to make a bow at the end. So I'm going to put my bow there and that will cover some of this joining and everything, okay? Now I'm not going to sew my end in yet because I want to keep these stitches nice and open because we're going to do some surface chains around our stitches from the first round where we did those single crochets. So if I start to weave this in and it goes through those stitches, it's going to make it a lot harder to do those chains. So it might seem like it's going to get in the way, but just try and work around it because if not, you could end up closing some of these stitches and you don't want that to happen. Okay, so I've got my red, and what you want to do is make sure you leave a little tail for making your bow. Okay, so you want to leave a little tail for a start. Okay, so hopefully I can capture this on camera. So I've got the tail and it's at the back at the moment, but we'll bring it through to the front afterwards. Okay, so I'm just going to find roughly where I started, which is about here where this tail is coming from. And I'm going to go into the next stitch along. My tail is hanging down to the right. Now if I was left-handed, I would have the tail to the other side because you'd be working around the other way, okay? But being right-handed, we're going to work this way, anti-clockwise, okay? And then just hold that tail secure with one finger, so this finger here is holding it. Pull that yarn through, okay? And then just hold that tail secure just for the first couple of chains. And then go into that hole, Camera focus. Come on, camera. Okay, so we're going to go into that hole of the next stitch. And I'm going to pull through our working yarn and then make that chain. Okay, you will see this start to work up as you carry on. So go into the hole of the next stitch, pull the yarn through and through that yarn there. And you can see we've got a couple of chains there now. So then work this around, go into the next stitch, pull through and pull through to make that chain. Okay, and we're going to do this all the way around into every stitch where you can see the whole of the stitch. Okay, so that hole that's made by the stitch, just there you can see a hole. I'm going to go into there, pull that yarn through and then through there. Okay, you can see how this chain's working up nicely. So I'm going to continue around, do a few on camera so you can see. Okay, so again, just take your time, and I'm using cotton, so I'm especially taking my time because as if you've used cotton, you will know cotton does like to split. So let's work this around the centre. So you can see how this is working up nicely now. So I'm going to continue the rest and I will meet you when I get back around near to the end of the other side. Okay, I'm nearly finished. I'm just going to do my last one or two even, and I'm going to go back in to where I started. Okay, do that chain. And then I'm going to pull this through a nice length and then cut that off, pull it through, and then I'm going to, from this stitch that I've just done, I'm going to pull the other yarn through from this stitch here. So this one went into this hole here, but I'm going to pull through from this one here, because if I pull it through from there it will undo that chain. So I'm just going to pull it through from here, making sure we don't undo any chains we've done. Okay, there we go. Let's move that green out of the way. Okay, so just going to tighten this all up. Okay. And then I'm just going to tie this and make a bow at the end. If you wanted it to be chunkier, you could do some chains here with this yarn, and then you could tie the chain, but I don't think it needs that. So I'm just going to tie this like so. It just joins all those chains there up nicely, and then let's just make a bow. So you can do this however you like. I'm sure there are better and neater ways of making bows. Make that a bit smaller actually. Okay. And if you want this bow to stay stiff, you could just take some PVA glue, white glue, and pop that on there and shape it with your fingers, and then let it dry, and that will stiffen it nicely if you wanted to. So let's take that green out of the way. So there's my little bow. As I said, you can just do that however you like. There we go. There's the bow. Very straight. There we go. Okay, there's my bow on the front there. So I'm going to weave this end in and make that nice and neat. And then you could just make a loop at the top and you could hang it on your Christmas tree, or you could make a garland of them. You could do whatever you like with it. Or if you've made a bigger one on a big hoop, then you've got a lovely wreath for your front door or your garden gate. Beautiful. So there we go. Nice, quick, easy, cute little project there. Let's move on to something else.